What's up, you guys? This is sportsheadradio here on the Space Entertainment Network, and you know it's that time of the year, folks. March Madness. Yes, indeed, you guys. Now, we're going to start with the East region. We're going to break this up into 4 different regions so we don't overwhelm you guys, because it's going to be a lot of good matchups, and I'm going to mention some potential upsets and teams to watch out for. So the first matchup, obviously, Duke is the #1 seed in the East region, and they're more likely going to play probably North Carolina Central, just making an educated guess. But at the end of the day, either one of these 16 seed teams are going to guard Zion? I say no. I have Duke absolutely crushing North Carolina Central. Now the next game, you have VCU versus UCF. Now this is kind of a tough matchup, but based on the efficiency, UCF is a better squad. But VCU, they rely a lot on their defense to create for their offense. But UCF is not that far back in terms of their defensive efficiency compared to VCU. So with that being said, I like UCF to beat VCU. Plus, I think their front line could cause some problems for this VCU team. Give me Central Florida in that win. Next up, we have Mississippi State, the 5 seed, versus the 12 seed Liberty. But this matchup's pretty interesting. Mississippi State's kind of an up and down team. They've been pretty inconsistent, but they definitely can shoot the ball. They play pretty solid defense. And Mississippi State, they do play a level of zone back and forth. But I have to go with Liberty. I'm actually going to pick the upset and take Liberty. I think it's one of these 5 or 12 matchups you have to keep an eye out for. So I definitely like Liberty in that matchup. Now for the next one, we have Virginia Tech versus St. Louis. Now, I literally laughed at this matchup because, number one, Virginia Tech, they're a pretty efficient team. And if there's one team that could cause Duke some problems in this region, it's definitely Virginia Tech. They got Blackshear in the front line who could pick you apart in terms of shooting the basketball mid-range. You can stretch the floor, a pretty solid rebounder. But obviously they beat Duke without Zion, so keep that in mind. But they're playing against St. Louis. Now, St. Louis is a 13 seed, but if you look at the numbers, they're probably one of the worst efficient teams in the tournament. And the only positive thing I can say is they're a pretty solid rebounding team. They're one of the top 10 in terms of rebounding rates in the country. And also, they're pretty good on defense. They're top 10 in defensive efficiency. So, with that being said, their offense is like dang near bottom 90 in the country. Virginia Tech should blow them out the water. I have Virginia Tech winning by double digits. All right, now we have the 6 and 11 matchup in the East region. 6-seeded Maryland Terrapins versus the 11 seed Belmont. Maryland, they're an athletic team. They have a solid front line. The problem I have with this team, they're very inconsistent. You don't know what team is going to show up in terms of Maryland. Now, in terms with this Belmont team, who just beat Temple, a very tough team. But let me give you some statistics with Belmont. Belmont is number 2 in the country in points per game. They're 3rd in the country in effective field goal percentage. I like Belmont to upset Maryland in that game. Belmont, put it down. Next game, we have LSU, the 3 seed, versus Yale. Again, this can be a potential upset. LSU, they're playing pretty good on both sides of the ball. They're in the top 12 in terms of points per game. They're in the top 25 in offensive efficiency. They're in the top 10 in effective possession ratio. Now, if you look at the Yale side, they're actually 13th in the country in points per game. They're 12th in the country in effective field goal percentage. And their rebounding rate is actually in the top 40. LSU's in the top 35. So that's pretty solid. So these teams kind of almost cancel each other out. That's why I kind of mentioned a potential upset. But I'm going LSU close. A very close game. I got LSU close by at least 3 points. Now, let's look at another 7 versus 10 matchup. We have the Louisville Cardinals facing against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. This has an interesting storyline with Rick Pitino's son coaching Minnesota, basically coaching against the old team that his dad coached for, Louisville. and I believe they're going through some type of like civil suit that's going on, so which is kind of interesting, kind of causes for a little bit of a conspiracy with the selection committee. But with that being said, I like Louisville in this game to beat Minnesota. I think Minnesota, they're kind of an up and down team, but they have some moments where they play very well. But I think this Louisville team is more tested in terms of playing in a tougher conference. Even though in the tournament we have 8 teams in the Big Ten, most of any other conference, but the quality basketball really is in the ACC. I like Louisville to win a close game against Minnesota. You go ahead and book it. I say by 4 points or less. Now the next game, we have Michigan State, the number 2 seeded team, against Bradley. Michigan State is actually one of those underrated teams that could get to the Final Four. I like this team to make a pretty deep run, but I think they should beat Bradley pretty well, at least by double digits. Thank you guys for tuning in to Sportshead Radio. Guys, go ahead and click and subscribe to the Space Entertainment Network. Go ahead and follow them on Instagram at the Space Entertainment Network. You guys go ahead and follow me at Sportshead Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and on SoundCloud for the latest podcasts and more in-depth analysis on the SoundCloud. And guys, thank you guys for tuning in here on Sportshead Radio. For more predictions and insight, click on the links below.